Okay, today what we're going to do is just sign up and set up our LedgerGrind account. This will take less than 3 minutes. So first we hit this sign up button, and then you can continue with your Google account if you want, but I don't want to dox all my Google accounts right now, so I'm just going to make my own sign in. Okay, so we've entered all our details. Make sure that the email is a real email because you'll have to verify in a second. But okay, we're back with the verification code now. We're going to put the verification code in here, confirm account. And okay, looks like everything's confirmed, and now we are signed in. So this page here, if you look at it, it means you're signed in. Great, we can start. No, you can't start yet, because the whole point of LedgerGrind is that it automatically inputs stuff into your Xero. So you have to make a connection between LedgerGrind and Xero first. So you go to Manage Xero Connections, and then go Connect to Xero. And this will start this Xero authentication process. So because I'm already logged in, this screen will just come up and it'll look like this, and I can choose what organizations I want to authenticate. But if you're not logged into Xero like a normal person, you'll be prompted to log into Xero at that point. So just log into Xero, and then eventually you'll see this screen, and then you can select if you want to add more organizations, but at the moment there are 4 organizations that are automatically connected. Just choose the ones you want. Probably you just have like 1 organization. I have 4 because I'm like testing stuff. So continue, and we wait, and we sit around and we chill, and great, successfully connected to Xero. Now, don't click any of these buttons, okay? Just ignore them for now. These buttons don't exist. Go back to main, and it'll show you all of your organizations. So now all our organizations are connected, and then it'll look like this, right? It'll say you have to enter your details to enable. So let me talk about this. The feature that we're about to trial is the automatic invoice inputting feature. And what that does is you take an invoice, you email it to LedgerGrind, and then LedgerGrind will input it into the organization. It'll automatically take all the details from the invoice, like all the line items and stuff. Like, let's just go to the invoice itself here. Like this one here, right? It'll look at this, scan it, and then just input all that data into Xero for you so you don't have to do it yourself. Xero already does this, actually. Xero has like a very similar workflow. The only issue is that they only input like 30% of the information, and they don't do things like working out the contact or the account or doing the GST mapping. So that's what LedgerGrind does. It just does the whole thing, 100% fully processes the invoice and then also authorizes it. So it can be automatically mapped to your transactions. So that's what's going to happen. We'll probably choose a different invoice than this. But in order to do that, you have to tell LedgerGrind a little bit about your organization. So for instance, there are certain like GST rules that only apply to organizations that have a turnover over $75,000, for example. And so in order for LedgerGrind to get the GST mapping correct, you have to at least tell a little bit about your organization to LedgerGrind. It also helps in context. So you might send an invoice that has very little details on it, it's very sparse, but because it knows what your company is, it can work out from the context, I think I know what's actually going on here. So we're just going to give it some reasonable context here. We're going to call, company name is Glenbotics. And we'll give a description. Let's say it's a lemonade stand, okay? I can't even spell lemonade. You can misspell things, that's all fine. Headquarters country, we're in Australia, we're in Victoria, and the annual revenue is like, let's say it's $5,000. It's not, it's a pretty small operation with a staff of 1, and so now we just hit save. So now we've given LedgerGrind all the information it needs, and we're ready to use this one company, Glenbotics. All the others we can't use yet because we have to enter the details. But okay, right, now we're good with Glenbotics. All we do now is we copy the email, go to our email, and you're not going to be able to see anything here because all I've been receiving is test emails, so don't bother. Paste that email in, and that means that any bill we send to this email address, over here, will actually go into Glenbotics. So this is the Glenbotics Xero company we have here. So, okay, we'll upload an email address. Let's just do one we haven't done before. Let's do, here we go. There's one from Meta. And we're just going to send that across, and it'll probably take like a minute to actually process in the background. And of course, you don't need any subject or anything, just send it. What we're going to do in this case is we're just going to go to the updates page. sorry, we're going to go to the invoices page for Glenbotics on LedgerGrind. And what this will do is this shows us all of the invoices that have been mapped by Glenbotics since the dawn of time, well, actually in the last 30 days. So this was the previous one we did, which was the Piedmontese supermarket. That was something I did during testing. This is the one we've just done here. So it's just come up, said, hey, yep, we've successfully mapped this invoice. It's the Meta Platforms Ireland Limited. And if we click on this ID here, it'll actually take us into Xero. We might have to log in if we've logged out, but since I'm logged in, it just takes me directly there. And here's the invoice. So you can see the attachment, and it's the exact attachment that we had there. Great, nice, awesome. And you can see the contact. It's found that Meta is the contact. It's worked out that this is an advertising expense, which it is. And it's also worked out this is GST free because it's a purchase of like software from overseas. And that kind of thing is GST free. So it's very clever. And it also knows that it's in euros, not dollars. So great. This just saved us like a whole bunch of time. Just a few like little rules to keep aware of. Don't put two different invoices in the same email. Otherwise, they'll turn into the same bill. And you'll have both attachments there, but you might have like a mix of line items. And that probably isn't what your accountant wants. Also, try not to attach anything more than 30 megabytes, because then it just won't work because of the way that emails work. 30 megabytes is too large of a file to send. But as long as your file is lower than 30 megabytes, it can be a PNG, it can be a JPEG, any kind of document whatsoever. Yeah, it'll work, and it'll just get mapped like this. So great. That's LedgerGrind. That was like the full long tutorial going from step one to the end. Yeah, good luck.